Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lax rats alike, welcome back to another episode of the Crease Dive. Today is Thursday, September 5th, and we are down to our final four teams of the PLL season. I'm Jordie from Barstool. Joining me today, we got Big Ness on the mic, taking over mic number 2 duties today. No Dukes in the studio for us right now, but the boys are going to bring it to you. Ness, fresh off a trip to Gillette. How was the weekend up in Boston? Labor Day in Boston, not a bad spot to be. I mean, that stadium sucks. The surrounding area sucks. The team that plays in it sucks. The fans that go to watch the team there suck. But other than that, how was it?
Oh, you see, George's always got the jokes. It was honestly great. Weather, fantastic. Sweaty guy like me. Nice cool day out. Wasn't 95 out. Felt great being there. I'm not the biggest Patriots guy. I'm not a huge Boston guy. I am a Cannons guy. So I see where you're hating from. But to be honest, stadium rocks. That stadium rocks. It looks nice. It's got great screens, Jumbotron-wise, indoors. I think it's brand new. So overall experience from a first-timer, really good. So I'll give them that. I hate the Patriots more than anyone else as a Steelers fan, so I don't love saying it. But it was cool to be there. The house that Brady built. My Cannons got sent home packing for the second year in a row, so my heart was shattered. Had to watch Curse. Just Colin played a good game. But as you know, sometimes a goalie can't win you a game unless he's Blaze Reardon. So it was a lot of fun, Jordie. I hope the games looked good on TV. And I'm just fired up for round 2 of the playoffs. I'm officially just repping the PLL gear rest of the season. No more Cannons gear for me.
Just a big Rob Lowe wearing the NFL hat energy coming out of Ness for the rest of the way. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we might as well get right into those quarterfinal matchups. Listen, do I think that Blaze won that game for the cat? Like, I don't know. Like,
did you?
Like, I don't know if listen. Blaze is unreal. What I think he had probably somewhere around like 15 saves. I think that was the number that he ended up with. There weren't like a ton that were like, wow, nobody else in the world can make those saves. Like that's just Blaze doing Blaze things. I do think like what he brings to I guess we'll talk about this, like what Blaze brings to the table and what he allows that defense to do won them the game. But I don't think it was like one of those ones where it was like Blaze stood on his head. And that's the reason why the Cannons are, why Asher's going golfing this week, as Ian McKay so pointed out after the game. I think that the Cannons just, and you might need to put earmuffs on here because I know you're a big Cannons guy, but I think that the Cannons played one of the most dog shit games possible. I think, their entire game plan offensively, like I don't know if they had a game plan offensively. I think offensively they looked tragic. I don't know if it was different watching it on the field from watching it on TV. It looked like they couldn't figure out their spacing at all. There just wasn't really a moment where they were ever getting really any good looks. The only good time, actually, their offense looked like they had good offense and they had good ball movement was the goal that got wiped off the board because of the missed shot clock reset by Matty Palin and crew, who were just making a real good, just nice weekly tradition of being awful on those. So great job officiating for you guys. Botched another one, setting an all-time record for most botched calls in a season. Matty Palin, absolute legend. What a guy. Glad he can talk shit to all the coaches out there while he misses 1,000 calls. But like that was the one time though where they're kind of running downfield with transition. They get a cutter, right? They kind of open up a lane, they throw a skip pass, they draw 2, they bounce it up to Marcus Holman. If you have one guy on the field who has a shot that can beat Blaze, it's Marcus Holman. They didn't get him involved enough. So I just thought that the offense looked terrible.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on I'm going to keep going on the offense, but I don't want to have this be like a whole entire TED talk. So if you got anything to jump in there, feel free.
I agree. I mean, I gotta, I'm not blind. The offense did not look great. Dukes and I touched on it before the game. The switch up of the lineup of the, you had Aslanian down there most of the game, and I think Aslanian's a great player. I don't know how great of an attackman he is. I mean, there's a reason he has success at the midfield is because he has a cannon and he plays the game like a little bit of a psychopath. I don't take Asllani as the type of guy that's gonna, shake a guy and get the offense, the ball moving. He's the type of guy that's gonna get that third pass and blast one past Blaze. That's where I think he's at his best. So going into the game, we almost wrote the script for how the Cannons were going to lose. Changed up the lineup, not great. Going against Blaze, not great. Going up against a pissed off Chaos team, not great. Rowlett getting suspended, probably, I don't think it benefited the Chaos, but again, it certainly gave them more bulletin board fuck you material. Those guys play off of energy. They just feed off emotions. You can feel it. You see the clips from Andy Towers. There feels like there's real bad blood there between the Cans and the Chaos, especially in that post-game presser from Towers. But it was tough to watch the offense, and that's why I gave my guy Kirsty a shout-out because, he holds the Chaos to 8 goals. In professional lacrosse, 8 goals isn't much. 4 goals is fucking nothing. So it was just tough. I couldn't put a tongue on it from where I was sitting of what was going wrong. I mean, shout out I always mispronounce his last name, Ray, Ra. Number 10 on the Chaos. I just had pronouncing, REH. I'm not the best. He's a vacuum. He was just doing everything on the defensive end to make sure the Cannons couldn't score. And every time I looked up, he had the ball in his stick and was scooping up a loose ball. Final count, I think, was 3 CTs, 9 ground balls. So Troy was just everywhere. And, it is what it is. It was hard to watch, but I can't really put up a fight and say that the Cannons didn't look like absolute dog shit, which they did. And those are my guys. So not easy for Nest.
Yeah. I mean, I think you touching on the, putting Asllani down at attack, not the smart, because like this is where Blaze steals the game because it's what he does for his defense where like, if you're going to beat Blaze, like you can't be dodging down the alley, like dodging down the alley, not going to beat the best goalie in the world, right? Like you need to attack from behind. And, Asllani, he's a perfectly fine player, but like when you've got a guy like Blaze in net, who's, one, he's probably the best communicator in the world. To like with how good he is at stopping so one, you're not going to get guys who are just like sliding randomly and just giving the offense, that extra look just because they're like, all right, let me slide early here. Because they feel comfortable enough with either one, the fact that Blaze will bail them out if they get dusted one-on-one. And 2, the fact that he's constantly telling guys there was a clip. So you probably didn't get a chance to see it because you were watching on the field, but on TV, they had Blaze mic'd up and dude, it was like 45 seconds, which while you're watching 45 seconds, it feels like, 5 minutes. In that 45-second clip, Blaze must have been saying "you're good" to his defenders like 55 times. But these guys know, okay, one, we don't need to slide because Blaze will bail us out. But 2, the Chaos just never really attacked from behind that much. I think that they did have one. They had one goal. I forget who ended up scoring it, but they did have one where it kind of attacked from behind a little bit. You get a cutter cutting through, and dude, you throw the ball from X, move it up top, get Blaze to have to move his eyes, have a little dunk on the crease, and that's how you do it. And they did it with the Marcus goal that got waved off because of the shot clock violation, and then they did it with that one, and 2 times. They both worked, but instead they just kept insisting on just running down, alley shot, throw it to Blaze's stick, gumball going the other way. And on the other, so really good job by the Chaos defense. Chaos offense still not great. They're still
they had a little too raw. They had a lot of looks on Curse that I was shocked to my core that he ate up. He had a couple one-on-ones that to be honest, the Chaos probably could have pumped in 3 or 4 more easy ones. I agree with you totally that Chaos offense still isn't, elite, I guess is the word, but I think the score did a good job of making it seem like they didn't play that well when I really thought they had a lot of good looks. I just felt like if Curse wasn't bailing them out, the game would have gotten out of hand. And yeah.
I mean, I thought that the first half on both ends offensively seemed a little sloppy all around. I think obviously second half just Not like a ton of goals, but Chaos doing enough to kind of pull away there. But listen, I think so. This is where we'll talk about the Chaos a little bit and their need to be both hated and loved, because the Chaos and also the Chaos social media team, like this is a team that I never really know like where they are. Like, do they thrive on being hated or do they take it like way too personally? Because
Yeah, I mean,
like here's the thing. So for starters, let's just go over to so the chaos on their Twitter page. So the what is Scotty's, all right, so Stick Talk, the Scotty Royster podcast with a couple other friends of the program on there. So they made their picks. They 4 guys on that panel. They all picked the Cannons. I believe you and Dukes probably both picked the Cannons as well in the preview show. I'm sure that Dukes, when he was on the Mitch Pelkey show, the live show before, they probably all picked the Cannons as well. So lot of like this goes back to when it was like I think it was like 2.7 or 3.7% that picked them to win in their like playoff bracket things a couple of years ago, and that's the year that they won the championship. So like this is a team that kind of thrives on being an underdog heading into the playoffs, but it's not like they give us reason to
think otherwise.
There's no reason for us to be like, okay, yeah, like this team lost Jack Rowlett. Their offense isn't that great. You can hope that Blaze bails you out and plays the game of his life and maybe seals you a win here. But like, there's no reason to think that the Chaos should beat the Cannons, right? Everyone who has a brain on paper, the Cannons should beat the Chaos. So it makes sense for everyone to make that pick. And it seems like they like it's what gets them motivated, right? It's kind of I hate that athletes do this. I feel like athletes today are always looking for haters to be motivators, where it's like, dude, just like find a reason to like motivate yourself. Like stop constantly looking for people to hate you to prove wrong. That's a conversation for another time. But if you're gonna love being the team that's like hated and doubted so much, it's just I don't know where I'm at on like then coming back. You know what? Like, go ahead, dunk away. Like, you guys earn the right to dunk away. Like, you have a million people picking against you. So when you then log on to Twitter, whoever's running the Carolina Chaos Twitter account, you quote tweet the picks and you say, y'all should rename the show to maybe, I don't know, shit talk. You earn that right, but at the same time, you make it so hard to like root for you. Like people aren't rooting for you to begin with, and now it's even harder to root for you again. Like you guys did it. Like everyone was doubting you. You won. Like you might have some people be like, you know what? We didn't give the Chaos a fair shot. Like they came in here, they took care of business. Like I would like to see them succeed. And then you do shit like that, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Like I fucking hate these guys.
That's very fair, and I think I'm like in the 80% agreeing with you, or probably high 80s. But I do have one thing to say about their tweet, and I texted Mr. Scotty about this. Undeniably, a very funny tweet. I mean, it's just kind of but where you're coming from is so fair. Where it's like, it's sort of like they waited till after the game. They're trying to like dance on the grave a little bit of nobody liked us, like blah blah blah. No one picked us. It's like, yeah, but like at the same time, like we're all pretty aware that no one was gonna pick you because you're the underdog. I don't know what, like you said, where's the confusion? You didn't give us a reason to think the Chaos were gonna win. So I don't think it's crazy that Scotty and everyone else in the world took the Cannons, just like myself. I do have a problem with them where you mentioned like creating a narrative of like making it seem like people hate you. You know, I special shout out to a new friend of mine who probably doesn't say we are friends, but I like to call people friends. Ian McKay. Listen, no problem with Ian McKay. No problem with the Chaos. I've never had a problem with anyone in the league. We're on the sidelines watching the game, and all we're talking about is how Blaze Reardon's playing the game of his life. I didn't hear one person in the whole crowd mention root against Blaze ever. No, it never occurred. I'm on the side. I can hear everything going on. And, the game's over. I think good game. Blaze did again. And he comes at Dukes on Twitter saying that Dukes and his sidekick, I'm assuming I am the sidekick, had other thoughts on the field yesterday. And all I want to say is no one's been a bigger Blaze fan than this podcast. I'm on record saying that I believe Colin Kearse is the best player in the world, but that's a personal opinion. The real record is Blaze Reardon's the best goalie to ever play in the game. I even said on the last episode of the podcast that Blaze is going to be the reason if they win, it's because of him. So this idea that like we're rooting against Blaze, we're rooting against the chaos is so crazy because I'm just rooting for the Cannons because I like the Cannons. I like my guys on that team. And Dukes had a future on the Cannons. It's not like we're standing there like, fuck the chaos, fuck them, Blaze sucks. Like, this idea was crazy that they're creating in their head. So that is where I draw the line of, if you want to call
but
someone
like so
out,
like that's where like Andy Towers is like that's where he's a great cult leader. And like he's a great like he's got those guys like so he gets those guys in the locker room and he's foaming at the mouth and he's talking like they doubted you. They doubted you. These guys hate you. They said this. They said like he's so good at just getting that message through to his guys that everybody hates him. That like you see it play out there. And yeah, I mean, kind of they're just a really weird, like I just never know where I fall with that team because like you take them all as individuals. Ian McKay, friend of the program, awesome guy, love him to death. Blaze Reardon, best goalie in the world, love him to death. Obviously, I'm biased, huge Austin Kaut guy, biggest Austin Kaut guy out there. Even Andy Towers, like just like on his own, like just all-time entertainer, all-time personality in the game of lacrosse. But it's like somehow you just put them all, like you slap the chaos logo on them. And you're like, I don't know how I feel about these guys. Kyle Jackson, sweetest guy in the world, one of the best guys in lacrosse, puts a chaos jersey on. I don't know how I feel about that guy. Just because like they are like constantly, they're constantly at war with the media, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
but you know what though? It's not though. And that's unfair because it's not just a chaos issue. Like that is like the way that a lot of lacrosse players, like I feel like
100%.
I don't know. I think about this a lot. Like I think pro lacrosse, like it's still so small and everything's so like kind of tight knit that it's like it. I don't know, like the media, like we feel like we're friends with the players and the players feel like they know everyone in the media. Like everyone's like kind of like everyone follows each other on social media, right? Like all the players, all the media, like it's still so small that it's like, I get that it's hard for these guys to not take everything like so personal, but like, dude, like imagine if that was like the NFL, right? Like imagine like, and there are definitely guys in the NFL that take things like way too seriously, but like, dude, like these guys are like hearing everything, they're seeing everything, and like, and you're rooting for the Cannons because you love Kurt. You got your
I'm
like
not
the
rooting
Curse or your god,
the chaos,
but you're rooting for Curse and not for the and like they're like, oh well, like it's personal now because it's so like everything in lacrosse is just so small that everything's just a little bit more intimate when we talk about like there's always a field that where it's like, dude, like I didn't say anything bad about you guys. I just said something nice about the other guys. But like, if you're going to use it as bulletin board material, then
then
do
it.
Then do it, and then that's why you win and you're going to the semifinals.
Yeah, and like it's that simple. I just like you said, it's so small they hear it and they see it. It's like even the chaos count when they called out Sky and them, and I know it's like a lighthearted jokes. It's really not that deep. But again, it's not like they said the chaos suck. Like it's no one ever said that. Anyone who talked about the game probably said, I'm taking the Cannons, but like watch out for this chaos team. They've done this before. I feel like the whole world kind of knew what they were going to do and they did it. And then they were like, we told you. And it's like, we all fucking knew that. We knew you guys were good. No one ever said you weren't. You just didn't have as good of a record. I mean, you probably don't even need to have a good record in the regular season because you seem to thrive off the fact in the playoffs when you don't. So yeah, I mean, I love the banter. I love it back and forth. I don't like being painted as a guy that's anti-Blaze when as a goalie that like hurts my soul. Blaze Blaze is on the Mount Rushmore of Mount Rush. He might be on the Mount Rushmore of lacrosse players ever, let alone goalies. I mean, he's a legend of the game. And he's a big guy. I'm a big guy. I'm going to clip this and send it to Ian McKay. Oh, maybe he'll like me one day. Shout out Ian McKay. Shout out to Chaos taking you this weekend, baby. You're going to hear me. Woo!
So in the second semifinal game, so that, yeah, we can move on from that. And yeah, I think it's going to be hard to not pick the Chaos moving forward. Whipsnakes, hottest team in the league right now, rattling off 5 straight wins. They keep it going with a win over the Outlaws, 11-10. And I mean, obviously the Crease Dive turning point of the game, brought to you by the Crease Dive podcast. Little 2-bomb from Jake Bernhardt, one of just the zaniest 2-bombs of all time, looking for a skip pass through the crease, takes a little hop off of JT Giles Harris. I couldn't tell if it was off of his quad, off of his stick, off of whatever, but ends up in the back of the net. Bernhardt from behind the line through that skip pass, so that goes down for 2. That tied it up 9-9 right before the end of the third quarter, and that's where the Whips just kind of didn't really take off. They scored 2 goals in the fourth quarter and held the Outlaws to just 1. But an 11-10 win for the Whipsnakes. They are going back to the semifinal. Listen, there was a time on this podcast where we were talking about, is it time for the Whipsnakes to blow it up? Like, are the Whips finally done? Feeling like a little bit like Trent Dilfer when he said in 2014, you know what? The Patriots just aren't good anymore. And then they went ahead and won a Super Bowl later that year. Whips figured it out. TJ Malone got hot, put Krebs between the pipes full time, and now the Whips are going to another semifinal appearance. Anything on Whipsnakes Outlaws? I thought Outlaws played pretty good. I mean, What an overachieving year for them. Really just you think about where they were at last season. You think about how young and new this offense was this year. So good things moving forward for the Outlaws, but they just couldn't get the job done against the Whips.
Yeah, I mean, one unreal game. What a game to be watching. Ending your Labor Day weekend, nighttime in Foxborough. I kind of think the Whipsnakes got a little lucky with that 2-bomb. I mean, if it was a shot that trickled in, I wouldn't call as much luck. But that's just pure luck right there, and that's fine. That's what happens in sports. You need those bounces. But that really was the turning point in the game, like Jordie said. It sucks if you're the Outlaws and you look back and you're like, we had them the whole game, and it really only got away from us when they scored that 2-ball. And even when it got away from them, it certainly wasn't. I don't think it was ever more than a 3-point game. So if it's a 2-goal game, it's always 1 possession. So I mean, it was a lot of fun to watch. The thing I keep saying about the Whipsnakes that I think is so obvious, and seeing Heacock and Rambo after the game do the Mitch Pelkey show with Dukes and those guys, this is what I know for sure. They are having so much fun on that Maryland Whipsnakes team. Coach Stagnita, happy as a clam, fresh haircut, loose as a goose. The players are loose. And you can feel that they have almost that Kansas City Chiefs we know what to expect. We've been there, and we're going to enjoy it while we're there. And they have a lot of vets, and they also have some young guys who are just standing on their heads. So, what you said goes. I think Krebs is a weapon between the pipes, and when that offense gets going, they get going. So I think we got Whipsnakes Chaos Final. I know we're not doing picks yet, but that's just I would love to see that. I'd love to see the 1 and the 2 seed go down. And then I can decide who I'm rooting for in the finals after that. But yeah, it was a great watch. Brandon O'Neill's a freak to watch in person, by the way. I know I've seen him at other games, but this one felt just like different being right there. He's a physical specimen, to say the least.
Yeah, I think there were something like 5 or 6 different lead changes in this game. So, 10-11 or an 11-10 final with the lead changing that many times. It was a sick game. Speaking of mutants out there playing, I haven't always been the biggest Sam Hanley supporter on the podcast. I don't think that I've ever really given him, some of the respect that he deserved. But dude, the 2-bomb that he had was a piss missile, bar down. I mean, the way that the sound of that rocketing off the crossbar on the broadcast was just, it's my favorite sound in the world. Like the ping of a bar down in an NHL game, like it's got that like nice like piercing sound where like you can be in the room over, right? And you still hear it on the TV and you're like, oh, I know exactly where that shot was.
Yeah.
It like it that has like a shot that like it sound that excites you. Something though about the way that the bar down on these PLL nets. Someone told me what brand of nets they are. They're not the Gilman goals that a lot of colleges and a lot of high schools use. I think someone said that they're like Wolf Athletics, but either way,
They're
the sound, whatever it is with that bar and wherever the microphone placement is in the net, like it's got like a deeper sound, like kind of like a more just like
yeah.
just like brings out like the caveman. I mean, when I hear that bar down sound on the PLL net, I'm just like I
Yeah.
need more of that. And like Sam Hanley delivered that, like hit the perfect note on that one.
It was an absolute cannon. Shout out Cabrini, 2020 lockdown, Sam Hanley, locked your ass down with a shorty. But he's a freak. He's so big, and when he walks around the field, a fan behind me said, "Oh, like that's Sam Hanley walking off the field," and the person they point out was 5'10". I was like, "No, that's not him." And they were like, "Yeah, it is," and I was like, "No, it's not." They're like, "Well, how do you know?" I go, "Well, Sam Hanley's a fucking giraffe." So I don't even know what number that person is, but that's not him. So yeah, he's cool to watch play lacrosse. He is when he's on, he's on. I think a big guy like that needs to just find his role in that game of spanking the top shelf like that. I mean, he's shooting that ball from 5-6 inches higher than him. He's so big. And I just think as a goalie, when they're pissing down the middle of the field like that, hands high, it's not easy. You think he's going to bring it low every time, but even when he shoots down, it's going to that top shelf. So it's cool to watch. Great game. And again, shout out Cabrini locking him down, fellas.
All right. Well, that brings us into our PLL semifinals this Saturday on the island. We've got 5 p.m. and we've got 7:30 p.m. So, good thing about this weekend, not the greatest slate of college football in the world. I don't think that there are too many great games. So I think there's maybe like one or two top 25 games out there. So, listen, if you're at a bar that has a lot of TVs, right, you can probably convince someone, hey, like, let me hook up to the Chromecast here. Let me throw on ESPN Plus and we can get Archer's Chaos on there. Like, I don't think that there are too many games where people are going to be like, no, like, you got to keep this on. Like, fucking Kennesaw State is, going to be a huge game for us. But it all gets going 5 p.m. We've got the Atlas taking on the Whip Snakes. I mean, historically speaking, like Whips have had the number for the Atlas for a while now. Obviously, the first couple seasons in the league, Whips were clearly the best team in the league. Atlas were struggling. Not that history always matters in these matchups, but when they played earlier this season, the Whip Snakes did take home so they played twice. So, in that first weekend, Atlas came away with a 17-13 win. And then maybe right before the All-Star break, or either way, June 28th, Whip Snakes got a 16-12 win. So pretty even there, right? Score differential is going to be 0 between those two games. Whips are as hot as could be. They're coming fresh off of a game on Monday. The Atlas have not played since August 17th. So it's been a couple weeks for them. So here's where we get the rest versus rust debate when it comes to the top seeds in the playoffs, getting that bye, not having to play on Monday. It is a quick turnaround, right? 5 days. I'm sure that some of these guys probably still have a little bit of work that they have to go back home to. At the very least, you're doing some traveling. So 5 days to play a game, do whatever it is you need to do during the week, turn back around. Now you're going to the island. Atlas and Archers both able to kind of just hang out and wait for this moment. You look at that Atlas out, like Jeff Teat has played so much lacrosse this year. Connor Schellenberger has played so much lacrosse this year. You think about Liam Entenmann, he's seen so many shots this year. So I think rest could help them out a little bit, but I don't know that. Like, did you feel like teams were a little sloppy to start off Monday, and you kind of see that maybe taking a little bit of time to knock off that rust for these top seeds?
I mean, it was hard to tell in the first game because no one could fucking score, so the whole game just seemed sloppy. It felt maybe a little slow. I didn't notice a ton of it, but I do have a great tidbit for you about buys and weeks off,
I love
specific,
tidbits. Go ahead.
specifically for the Atlas. Two of their three losses this year are off of a bye. I forget exactly who I heard that from while on the sidelines, but just a little bit of insider intel. Like, hey, they've played really good lacrosse, but coming off of a week with no lacrosse, they have lost two out of three. So that worries me a little bit if I'm an Atlas better. What might not worry you is you have just disgusting players all over your offense and a goalie who is an absolute monkey in the goal. He flies around, he covers every pipe. He's so big. So I don't know. If anyone's going to come out rusty, it's obviously going to be the Atlas and the Archers, like you hinted at. But I think they'll be good. I mean, it is
It's
August
quick,
17th.
going to be a quick turnaround though
Yeah,
for the Whips. So, a lot of vets on there, a lot of guys who've also played a lot of lacrosse.
fair. That's
It's not
very
like
fair.
TJ Malone had too much of a break between the college season to the pro
Yeah,
season.
yeah. I
So
don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm wondering where you're going to be leaning in this game. I'm excited to hear what your lean is.
I just think that, I mean, for starters, I just want to reiterate something that we've said time and time again, where I do think it would be so good for the game to have the championship on Labor Day, to where like you have like the only, like, yeah, maybe there's a college game like later on 7:30 that night, but like, like a 3 p.m. Labor Day championship game where you have all eyes on the game would be phenomenal. But we do have 3 p.m. on ESPN for the championship the following Sunday, September 15th in Philly, the lacrosse capital of the world. And I just, I just think that a nationally televised audience deserves to watch Jeff Teat play one more time this summer. And so I think this offense, I think they're going to take those breaks where they can. It's a lot of lacrosse. I do that tidbit. I kind of wish you didn't tell me that before saying all this, because like they're over 2 off the buys. I don't think that they've had a third buy. So, over 2 off the buy. But I don't know. I just think that offense is so good. I think that the face off, they're going to get a couple extra possessions. Gavin Adler, what a sophomore season for that guy. So I think he's going to be able to wreak some havoc for the Whip Snakes offense. Legs might get a little tired. I haven't checked the weather yet on the island, but kind of hope that maybe a slower start for the Atlas, but they have plenty of firepower to make up for that and just really run it down their throats in the third and fourth quarter. So I like Atlas, but I don't like them big.
All right, I love it. That's very fair. I hinted earlier. I'm Whip Snakes. They're having fun. They're gonna look good doing it. Um, I don't know. I just think it seems too good to be true for the Atlas to go to the championship. They've had a really good year. Um, I don't know what the contract situations look like over there, but between their rookies, and I'm sure they're not going to let Teat go. They have an absolute loaded lineup for next year. But unfortunately, I'll be rooting for their season to end. So give me the Whip Snakes. I'm all in on them now. I just think it's almost hard for me to root against them because of how out I was on them early. Like, I was out midway through the season. Whip Snakes, we never really talked about, do they need to blow it up? But in my head, I was like, this could be. Is it going to be it? Or are they going to keep the core together? And then I think here we are, 7-8 weeks later, and they've won 5 straight games. So they're just rolling, and seeing them at the game, you could feel it. So if you're the Atlas, watch out, they're coming.
All right. Well, the second semifinal game of the weekend, we've got the Archers taking on the Chaos. Archers, the top seed in the Western Conference. Chaos obviously get into the semifinal after their 8-4 win over the Cannons. RIP Cannons, RIP Nest. 7:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus. You know, if I'm thinking, and I don't have the stats to back this up, but if I'm just thinking about offense outside of the Atlas, I would say that the Archers are probably, I feel like they have to have like the second most like assisted goals. So I do think that as far as their offense operates, no Schreiber for this one, right? He's done for the year.
I believe so. I think they made
But
Ambler their captain.
But either way, like the way, you know, they like to snap the ball around a little bit. So I do think offensively they're going to have a little bit of a better chance against the Chaos than the Cannons did. I think, you know, you kind of attack from behind a little bit, get those eyes to move, draw a couple more slides. So I think that this is going to be a great game. I think it's going to be really tight. I want to say this is a little tidbit here. It feels like each of like the last four champions have all gone on to then lose in the final the next year, right? So the Whip Snakes won in 2021. Or wait, no, the Whip Snakes won in 2020. Then they lost in the final in 2021. Chaos won in 2021. They lost in the final 2022. Whip Snakes or Water Dogs won in 2022, lost in the final in 2023. So Archers, you know, if you're following that path, they would win this game in the semifinal and then go on to lose in the championship. But I don't know. I think losing Schreiber hurts. Bringing back Jack Rowlett only helps out this defense that just covered the Cannons on Monday. I think Blaze is feeling hot. I think that the Chaos are going to continue to thrive on all that perceived negative energy flowing their way. So listen, I think when it comes time for the Chaos to do their little dunk fest around the internet on Saturday afternoon or late Saturday night, I don't want to be a part of it. So I'm just going to go Chaos here just to cover my bases. So I got Chaos coming away with the win, and I never doubted them for a second.
Yeah, I'm exact same page as Jordie. Red Alert, Chaos, social team. Love you guys. Love all the players. Blaze, you're amazing. Everyone. I am a big Jules fan. Again, I feel like people think I'm like kidding. Like I never didn't like you guys. But I was betting against you when you're playing my Cannons. But this week I'm not. I'll be betting on them responsibly through our friends over at DraftKings. That will be fun. And it's more of just like, again, a gut feeling. It's not that I think the Chaos are a better team than the Archers. I just think the Chaos, you know, they're not. I don't think they're having as much fun as the Whip Snakes, but they're certainly more pissed off. And that's like Andy Towers' MO. He's going to get you fired. He gets me fired up, and I don't even play anymore. He's just an energy guy. He loves to let the guys know that no one believes in him, and that's just sort of the flag they're going to fly, and they're going to stay hot. So I think if Dobson, just like I said, I thought Curse could outplay or at least match Blaze. If Dobson can outplay or match Blaze, that's when I think the Chaos run into trouble. So it's not even that Blaze needs to be a hero, but if he can outplay the other team's goalie, which he's done plenty of, I think that's when it just becomes hard for the Chaos to really win a game with their offense not necessarily performing at their best right now. While we're on the topic of this weekend, if you're trying to buy tickets, if you're trying to get up Long Island, I will be there. Billy Football is going to be there. Dukes is going to be there. I don't think Jordie's going to be there, but he will be in Philly. There's also a special guest, Sammy Adams. You got to love Sammy Adams. He'll be DJing, might play a couple of his old hits. Maybe he'll give us a little spit. But yeah, DJ.
Till the ball time to make the motherfucker stronger. I want to go all night longer.
So yeah, you can come all day starting 2 p.m. Maybe the gates will open a little early. Let me double check. He's inside the stadium. So you can buy your ticket through a link we'll be putting out on our socials. You can listen to Sammy Adams. You can watch the NYPD versus the FDNY game. Then you can watch 2 rounds of playoffs, all for $30. You have to love it. Beers being served. Drink responsibly. Drink your water. And we are going to be gambling and having a lot of fun at Hofstra University this weekend. Cannot wait for it.
That was an electric promo. I am now just filled to the brim with FOMO after hearing that promo. That's kind of a promo that we need to kind of take this episode out on. So clip that, send it to the PLL, make sure the Nest gets a cut of the thousands of tickets that'll be sold after that promo. Go see Boston's boy after the game. And yeah, make sure you guys are following us on social. We are at the Crease Dive on Twitter and Instagram. We are Stool Crease Dive on TikTok. Make sure that you are subscribed on YouTube. These are probably still going out on Rumble as well. I don't really know about that, but let's just say that they're going out on Rumble as well. Tell your friends, tell your family. Love you guys. And we're going to keep it low to high till the day we die. We out.